Welcome back for topic number 4. It's probabilities of an event and its complement. Taking a look at what we have here, it looks like we got a lot of words. Seems kind of confusing, but I'm going to walk you through it and we'll figure it out together because the actual math that you're doing here is not very difficult. So if you take a look, it says a wheel has 5 equally sized slices numbered from 1 to 5. Some are gray and some are white. The slice numbered 1 is gray. The slices number 2, 3, 4, and 5 are white. So this first paragraph is just basically explaining the wheel that we have over here on the right. Now, it says the wheel is spun and stops on a slice at random. Let X be the event that the wheel stops on a white slice, and let P of X be the probability of X. Now, if you remember in the last topic we did when we were talking about probability, we're just putting that probability into function form now. After that, it says let not X be the event that the wheel stops on a slice that is not white, and let P of not X be the probability of not X. So there's a lot going on here, but basically what we're going to do here is figure out what the probability of it landing on a white slice is and what the probability of it landing on a not white slice is. So if you go down to this table here, what they want you to do is to figure out of these 5 outcomes, which category they're going to fall into. So if you remember, X is when the wheel stops on a white slice. So out of the 5 numbers, the 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all X. And the 1, because it's gray, is going to be in the not X category. So if you remember from the last topic, when we were dealing with probability, we had a fraction, and the bottom was the possible outcomes, whereas the bottom was the ones that made our situation happen or made it successful. So if you take a look here, we have 5 possible outcomes. We have 5 different locations that the wheel could land on. So we have 5 total outcomes. So over here, we're going to have 5 on the bottom. And then what we have to look at is how many of the 5 outcomes are going to make X happen, which in this case means that it has to stop on a white slice. So out of these 5 slices, 4 of them are going to be white. For not X, we have 1 out of the 5 that are going to be gray, which means that that fits into the not X section. Now what you have to do on the bottom, it says we want to subtract 1 minus the probability of not X. So if you take a look here, 1, if we rewrote that as a fraction, could be rewritten as 5/5. And if we subtracted the probability that not X happens, we would be subtracting 1/5. And in this case, what we should be getting is that 4/5 that we had in the original one. So this would be your answer for that last question. So what you'll notice here, if you take a look at your 2 probabilities, because these are the only 2 possibilities, it's either white or it's not white. If we added those 2 probabilities up, we would get 5/5, which would simplify to just 1. So that's how we want this to end up. We want it to simplify to 1. Let's take a look at another one now. We've got another wheel here, but at this time, I guess they call it a dartboard. We've got 5 slices, 1, 2, and 5 are all white, and 3 and 4 are gray. It says a dart tossed at random lands on a slice. We want the event that the dart lands on a gray slice to be X, and the probability of that happening to be, once again, P of X, or probability of X. The flip side of that is not X is going to be the event that it lands on a slice that is not gray, and that would be P of not X. So in this table that they give you down here, they do want you to just check off which numbers are which. So we're looking at X, and X means that it lands on a gray slice. So out of these 5 outcomes, 3 and 4 are the ones that will result in landing on a gray slice. For the ones that are not X, or the ones that are not gray, That would be our 1, our 2, and our 5. So if you take a look once again, we have 5 possible outcomes here again. So 5 is going to go on the bottom. And on the top is going to be however many outcomes in this category make this a successful situation. So we have 2 outcomes, 3 and 4, that are going to be gray, which means that the probability of it landing on a gray slice is going to be 2 out of 5. Now you'll notice a similar pattern to what happened in the last example, that we have 3 numbers where it'll land on and be a white or a not gray slice. So that would be 3/5. Now if you go down here, similar exercise as the last one, it's asking you to subtract 1 minus 2/5. Another way you can look at it, instead of changing the denominator here, would be to take a look at your dartboard. If you had 1 full dartboard and you subtracted 2/5, how many fifths would you have left? And the answer to that would be 3. And once again, we see that our two probabilities here, when you add them together, equal 1. I got 2 more here for you. The next one we're going to do is dealing with a bag with 8 balls inside of it. We got 1 through 8. We've got 1, 6, and 8 are all white, and the other 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 are all gray. Our X here is the event that the ball selected is white, and P of X is the probability of that happening. Not X is the event that the ball selected is not white, and P of not X is the probability of it not being a white ball. So if you take a look down here, X was all of our white balls. So if you take a look, we have 1, 6, and 8 as our possible outcomes for X. For our possible outcomes for not X, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. So if you take a look here, we got 8 total outcomes, 8 numbers that the ball can, that you could choose. So our bottom of our fraction is going to be 8. How many of those 8 balls are going to make this a success up here? It's going to be 1, 6, and 8, so that's 3. How many of our 8 possibilities would not be white? That would be 5 out of 8. Down here, we do a similar thing. We take 1 minus 3/8, and we end up, once again, with 5/8 as our answer. And you'll see once again that if you were to add these 2 up, you would get 8 over 8. And remember, when you have something over itself, you can simplify that to 1. Last one here, we have a deck of cards numbered 1 through 8. This is very similar to the ones that we just did, but there's one difference here that I wanted to bring up, and it has to do with something we talked about in the last topic. So we've got 8 cards, 2 of them are white, and the other 6 here are gray. So we want to figure out X, which is how many different cards are gray. The probability of drawing a gray card is P of X. So taking a look at all of our possible outcomes here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all gray. So if you take a look here, we have 8 possible outcomes, and 6 of them are gray cards. The one thing that we have to do here that's different is something we talked about a little bit in the last topic, and that is that we have to simplify our fraction. So 6/8 we can simplify to 3/4, and that would be our final answer for that part. Now if you take a look at not X is the event that the drawn card is not gray. So we're looking at just 1 and 2 for that. So out of our 8 possible outcomes, 2 of them will result in a not gray card being chosen. That fraction we can simplify to 1/4. When we go down here to solve this last problem, not totally sure what the point of this is other than to show you that these two probabilities are going to add up to 1. But when we do it, we get 1 minus 1/4. So if you had one whole set of cards here and you took out 1/4 of those cards, how much do you have left? And the answer to that would be 3/4. One thing you'll notice here too, to kind of put a bow on everything, is that if you added 6 and 2 over 8, you would get 8/8, which is 1. If you add up the simplified fractions, which would be 3/4 and 1/4, you get 4/4, which is also 1. So really, these two answers are exactly the same. So that is probabilities of an event and its complement. A couple things you can do now. The first thing would be to check out the video that will be popping up on your screen and go to topic 5, or go into ALEKS, look up this topic. Hopefully you have it unlocked, or hopefully you've done it already. But either way, try to get this done and move on to topic 5.